everybody, it's Emily Dark Schooling, and welcome back to another episode of Homeschool Tidbits. Welcome back to Build Your Library's Homeschool Tidbits, episode 10. Today we're going to be talking about teaching vocabulary painlessly. In this weekly video series, I will delve briefly into a topic related to homeschooling, and I will share some of my knowledge and expertise with you as a longtime homeschooling mother of 4 children, 3 of whom have graduated. Today we're going to be deviating just a little bit from our Charlotte Mason discussion, though we will still relate back to it. And I wanted to talk about something that comes up quite a lot, which is vocabulary and how to teach it. Like picture study, this is something you can easily do without a curriculum. All you need really is a well-stocked home library or a library card, and you are on your way to raising articulate children. The first step in raising children with a wide vocabulary is to read. I know you're not really surprised that I would say that, right? You should read to your children. You should let them read to themselves. Lots and lots of time spent reading. Read aloud should be well-chosen books that are above your child's reading level. That is one of the big benefits of reading aloud, is that you can choose books that are above their reading level. These books will have a much richer vocabulary than books that they are going to be reading on their own, that are their reading level. We have discussed living books at length, so if you want to know how to choose living books to read with your children, I would recommend you check those videos out. The best way to learn vocabulary is by hearing words used repeatedly. This happens both in literature, but also in everyday language. Simply read together, and when you come across words in your books that your children don't know, you can add those words into your daily conversation. Are you enjoying your breakfast? Tell them it is scrumptious. Is something beautiful? Say it's ravishing, or stunning, or exquisite. Just peppering your everyday conversation with these big, juicy words will embed them into your child's memory, and you'll start to hear them use those words regularly as well. I am a big believer in not talking down to children, so don't be afraid to use big words with them. Talk about anything and everything. This will easily lead to giving your child a much richer and more varied vocabulary. Are you worried that you don't have a big enough vocabulary to do this? Never fear. Pick up a word of the day calendar, or you could use the free word of the day from Merriam-Webster Dictionary online, and you can find ways to work those words into your daily dialogue with your children. Now, if you use Build Your Library homeschool curriculum or any literature-based homeschool curriculum, it'll come with a list of vocabulary words that are taken from each day's literature reading. You might feel like you need to do something with this list of words. Particularly if your children are young, resist that temptation. You do not need to make that list into a lesson. Rather, it's included for your benefit as the parent or learning mentor. As you read and you come across a word your child doesn't know, they might interrupt and ask, "What does that mean?" First, back up. Read that sentence containing the word again. Ask if they can guess the meaning based on the context clues given in the sentence. Learning language in context is an important skill that we should try to hone. I always give my children a chance to figure out the word's definition before I share the actual definition with them. Once they've had a chance to think about it and take an educated guess, then you can share the definition that is included in the lesson plans. But maybe your child doesn't want to interrupt the story to ask, and that's perfectly fine. Most children won't want to interrupt the story. So you can either just go over those words ahead of a reading, or you could write them on a whiteboard so that they are listening for them. Pick one to add to your daily chatter that day. Make a point of using those words in your day-to-day talk. These new words will find their way into your child's vocabulary with minimal effort on your part. Charlotte Mason said, "We are convinced that they cannot understand a literary vocabulary, so we explain and paraphrase to our heart's content, but not to theirs. So avoid paraphrasing or dumbing down your language for your children." Now, as your children get older, you can let them take a more active role in vocabulary study. Do they like to journal? You could use a simple notebook or something fancier, for example, like these vocabulary journals that are created by a homeschooling parent who also uses Build Your Library, and they could use this to study vocabulary. I particularly like this because it comes very organized, so you have options as to what to do with the words given each day. It's very well laid out and very easy to use. So it gives like sections for copy work, where you can put synonyms and antonyms and writing a definition, illustrations and such. So something like this can be very helpful with an older student who is studying vocabulary. I like to ask my kids to keep their notebooks nearby while they're reading. They can then jot down words they come across as they're reading to then later look up and study. We don't do anything formal though. I usually ask them to look up their words in the dictionary, maybe use them in a sentence. We only do formal study of a few words at a time. Too much is overkill. We don't want to turn this into a chore. I want to make it as much of a natural part of their reading as possible. Even I still have to look up words once in a while, so I want them to realize that this is not something that is only for school. This is something that is a life skill. I've also included a vocabulary graphic organizer in the appendix of the upper levels of Build Your Library that you can use to do formal word study. It includes space for the definition, parts of speech, synonyms, antonyms, a sentence, and more. So there's a lot included in that. So don't feel that you need to do this with every word that is included in the vocabulary list each day. 1 or 2 words a day is plenty. In the high school levels of Build Your Library, I no longer include the definitions alongside the vocabulary words. In the teen years, they start taking the reins in their learning, and I know some teens even use the lesson plans completely independently. So this list is for them to look at ahead of time to get an idea of the vocabulary coming up in their reading. Then they can choose to look up words that they're unfamiliar with before they read. One of the benefits I've discovered in using an e-reader is that I can easily just click on a word as I'm reading, then it pulls up the definition right then and there for me. Super easy. It's a painless way to learn new vocabulary words. So if you have been considering getting an e-reader for your kids, I recommend it because that alone makes it so much easier for them to learn vocabulary in context. I would have children taught to read before they learn the mechanical arts of reading and writing. A child does not lose by spending a couple of years in acquiring these, because he is meanwhile reading the Bible, history, geography, tales with close attention and a remarkable power of reproduction, or rather of translation into his own language. He is acquiring a copious vocabulary and the habit of consecutive speech. In a word, he is an educated child from the first. And his power of dealing with books, with several books during the course of the morning's school, increases with age. With great literature and a learning companion willing to stretch their own vocabulary, your child will be able to articulate their thoughts and pepper their daily conversation with a rich and varied vocabulary. And it will become a natural part of your day-to-day activities. Easy peasy. If you found this video helpful, I hope you'll check out Build Your Library curriculum. Build Your Library is a secular literature-based homeschool curriculum inspired by Charlotte Mason's philosophy of education. Based on nearly 20 years of homeschooling, I created the curriculum I wish I'd had when I started homeschooling my own children. I've spent thousands of hours cultivating the best literature to enhance your child's studies. Our lesson plans make homeschooling simple. Just open the lesson plans, gather your books, and go. Our easy-to-use lesson plans include everything you need to homeschool. Just add math. Choose from our full-year K-12 levels, as well as our fun topical unit studies. With Build Your Library, you will cultivate a home library filled with captivating literature and raise children who will become lifelong learners. So snuggle up with our lesson plans and a good book or 3 and have your best homeschool year ever. I hope you found this tidbit helpful. Come back next week when we're going to be talking about morning baskets, or how to fit in all those odds and ends that you've collected over the years into your homeschool routine. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!